NFL Daily takes a look at the playoff picture today, including just how close the Ravens are to clinching a berth. The Dolphins are out with their loss, so the Chiefs are playoff bound after securing the AFC West. The Jags were upset by the 49ers and quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, but they clinched the AFC South this year and are also playoff bound. The Patriots did not clinch the number 1 seed in the AFC in Week 16, but moved one step closer by beating the Bills. Buffalo didn't need a win last week to keep their hopes alive, but they need one this week and some help to get in. The Chargers are still alive as well, and although they need help, they might just get in this weekend. The Titans put up a good effort, but they dropped their third straight in a loss to the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams clinched the NFC West with the win, and although their seed is not known yet, they will be playoff bound. As for the Titans, beat the Jaguars, and they are also heading to the postseason. Carolina is still fighting for seeding after beating the Bucs in Week 16. In fact, they can actually still get a bye. In an elimination game in Week 16, the Seahawks lost less than the Cowboys did. Dallas is out of the playoff race, and we'll discuss the future of Jason Garrett. As for Seattle, they need a win and a Falcons loss to make the playoffs. Detroit also needed a win to stay alive, and they choked against the Bengals, ending their season. The Falcons and Saints both have something to play for this week. New Orleans has yet to secure the NFC South, while a win for Atlanta or Seahawks loss clinches a playoff spot. The Vikings won against the Packers on Saturday, but they are out of the running for the number 1 seed in the NFC. However, they can still get the number 2 seed this week. And the Eagles' win over the Raiders clinched the number 1 seed in the NFC, even if it wasn't exactly a pretty game. The Steelers had no issues against the Texans, and we'll share the highlights of the 2 Monday night games in addition to NFL Daily's playoff projections coming up right now.
Did you know that ticket prices can actually go down right before the game? That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time tracks ticket prices in real time from thousands of trusted sellers, then shows you all the best deals. So we can get tickets at the last minute for up to 60% off. Download Game Time now.
Hello friends, and welcome into NFL Daily presented by Game Time. I am Tom Downey, alongside me is Mitchell Renz. Mitchell, we got some playoff picture looks for you guys today, some projections, but we're going to start with Jason Garrett. What I thought one of the biggest disappointments of Week 16 was how badly the Cowboys played. Jason Garrett was the coach of the year last year, but now the calls from Cowboys fans have come to fire Garrett. What do you make of that, Mitchell?
I think it's a legitimate call. I mean, we were listening to the game last night, and you could basically hear the roars from Arlington here in Dallas that Jason Garrett needs to go. There were so many play calls that I just could not understand. Feed Zeke the ball. Like, the man hasn't played in 6 weeks. He looked good, was running the ball really, really well. For some reason, did not get the ball. I would not be surprised whatsoever if Jason Garrett is on his way out, especially considering the fact that the Cowboys got to the position that they were in and just laid up a goose egg against the Seattle Seahawks.
So get those comments flowing, folks. Is it time for the Cowboys to fire Jason Garrett? We can bring some up on screen as they come in. The big concern around the Cowboys coming out of that Seahawks loss was the offensive play calling, as you mentioned, Mitchell. Scott Linehan, the offensive coordinator, facing 2 plays inside the 3.5-yard line, chose to not give it to Ezekiel. Now, one of them was a run-pass option. I think the question, the comment, or the response to that is, hey, maybe don't let your quarterback do that. Maybe just let him hand it off to Zeke. That's what they did it against the Raiders. They ran it 3 times with Alfred Morris. They didn't score. And then with Zeke back against the Seahawks, they threw it twice.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is Zeke, that entire drive, Zeke the entire game when they were giving him the ball, he was just churning out yards. And you could tell the Cowboys, when they run the football, and if you have to face Ezekiel Elliott and that offensive line for an entire 4 quarters, that wears down a defense. That's how you win games. The Cowboys defense, I thought, played great. If you would have told me that they would have held Russell Wilson under to the amount of yards that they did and still lose, I would have been baffled.
Get to some comments here now. Paul says yes, fire Jason Garrett. Andy Malone says no, keep Garrett. So there's some split decision there. Okay. I think a good comment here coming in from Holly says that he is he's Jerry Jones' right-hand man. Jerry Jones did say today that he didn't think it was in the Cowboys' best interest to fire Jason Garrett. Although he did kind of say as of now, so maybe things can change. But
I mean, what do you expect him to say?
I think Holly brings up a really good point. That it's a bit of a yes man for Jerry Jones, and Jason's going to do what Jerry wants. when it comes to the off-the-field stuff, more or less, and when it comes to the handling of the players, less so the in-game decisions.
Yeah, like, and I don't disagree with that, but at the end of the day, is a yes man really going to win you the games? Like, I don't. He has yet to prove to me that they can win big games. Like, sure, they had a great season last year, 13-3. But tell me how many Cowboys fans out there, any NFL fans in general, want to go 13-3 and then lose the first game in the playoffs? Mm-hmm. I don't. And then this year was a huge disappointment.
Bring back up Jason Garrett's player card here in just a little bit. I think the one big issue for the Cowboys is the one playoff win in Garrett's tenure, and they're a little bit above 500, but that was because of the 13-3 year. They've been pretty close to an 8-8 team almost consistently with Jason Garrett as head coach. Might be that way again this year.
But that's what I mean. Like, you're telling me Dak Prescott, I thought, has blossomed to be one of the better young quarterbacks in this league. Ezekiel Elliott is a top 5 running back, in my opinion. You could even argue he's even higher than that. Des Bryant, when he was in his prime, was one of the best wide receivers in the league, and yet this team has nothing to show for it. And people can hate on Tony Romo all they want. Tony Romo was a great quarterback.
I think it's curious here. I do see quite a few comments flowing in that saying that they won't fire Jason Garrett. Not that they should or shouldn't, but that Jerry Jones won't make that decision to do so.
Well, I hope they do. It would make my job a lot more fun.
I think at the very least, I think you could see a new offensive coordinator come into the Dallas Cowboys. There are going to be some guys available this offseason. And Linehan, the big knock on him is that he doesn't have a very creative offense, and when he does get creative, it's always at the worst possible times.
That's what I mean. Like, when you give the ball to Ezekiel Elliott at the 3-yard line 3 times, there's not an NFL defense, I think, in the league that stops him 3 times, maybe, let alone 4.
Mm-hmm. I think actually my biggest issue there that I saw with the Cowboys was against the Raiders. They ran the quarterback sneak on 4th and 1, and they went empty set and brought the receiver in motion. Like, oh, let's get creative there on 4th and 1 with our quarterback under center and nobody behind him. What do you think's going to happen? You think they're going to give it to a switcher on the jet sweep? It's a terrible play call. I didn't like that one at all. So, folks, keep the comments in about Jason Garrett. We'll have the latest for you on Garrett's future as things develop. In the meantime, though, let's get to some highlights here. Steelers and the Texans, Monday Night Football in this one here, folks, as we'll get to those highlights here in just a second. This game on NBC, part of the double header, I should say.
Is that a double header on Monday night?
Yeah, it's a double header. I guess that counts there. So Big Ben to Martavis Bryant. A nice catch here. We'll give you the replay here. He did indeed get his feet in bounds there. A beautiful catch there by Bryant.
Tom, that locked up my fantasy championship in my ESPN league low-key.
Yep, so that was a big catch there by Martavis Bryant. That would lead to a Big Ben TD catch to Justin Hunter. All he does is catch TDs. 14 in the last years of his catches. 5 have gone for TDs. Unbelievable numbers there. Second quarter, Houston still in this. TJ Yates wide open. Will Fuller missed him. Oh, my Lord. That was a touchdown right there. Yates knew it too. All right, 4th and goal. Houston goes for it. Yates is picked off by Artie Burns. Was not a good game for Mr. TJ Yates. Then Roosevelt Nath gets in on the action there. The fullback gets in for the score. Steelers up 20-0 at the half. Late third quarter, now it's Lev Bell time. He gets across the goal line for the score. It is 27-0 Steelers in a rout. All right, how about some positive plays for Houston? Yates to DeAndre Hopkins. This might just be your catch of the year, folks. We'll show it to you a few more times. He did get both feet in bounds. What a catch.
This is absurd. And I think when you see guys that make catches like this, you could argue that he's the best wide receiver in the league with the quarterback play that he's dealt with this season, Tom. I think you can make that argument. That's absurd. That's not coverable.
An incredible catch there by Hopkins. It was reviewed and it stood. So 27-6 now, but one more for the Steelers. Juju Smith-Schuster across the middle, touchdown. Steelers go on to win 34-6. TJ Yates, a great stat line of 7 of 16 for 83 yards, a TD, and an interception.
The fact that he only threw it 16 times in a game where they lost 34-6, I think you can literally laugh at that, Tom. But DeAndre Hopkins continues to get it done. 4 catches, 65 yards, and a touchdown. I've been saying it. I tweeted it out. You could make the argument DeAndre Hopkins is the best wide receiver right now in the NFL.
All right, folks. I want to remind you that today's show is brought to you by the Game Time app. If you need last-minute sports or concert tickets, get the Game Time app at chatsports.com/tickets. They track their ticket prices in real time from thousands of trusted sellers, meaning you'll get the best deal out there, up to 60% off compared to the other ticket sales guys out there.
I mean, even like 60% off is an amazing deal, Tom, but I was on the Game Time app earlier today, and we talk about a lot about professional sports, but if you guys like college sports, college basketball, for example, here in Dallas, Tom, SMU tickets, college basketball, $2. I guarantee you pay $2 for a Snickers bar or whoever. They're not a sponsor, I promise, but $2.
I do like Snickers.
I do love me some Snickers. $2 though for a college basketball game, you're not going to beat that.
All right, folks, that's chatsports.com/tickets. So we just showed you the Steelers highlights. Let's move into some playoff discussion here. We'll have playoff picture and projections for the AFC. We start with the playoff picture here. Couple teams have already clinched their spots at the top of the division standings right now. The Patriots and the Steelers. I saw one comment in the comment section, Mitchell, so we'll get to this now. The Patriots signed James Harrison because, of course, they did. Yeah, well, again, of course they did. Like, why not? He's a veteran presence. He's going to add veteran leadership to that locker room. I'm sure he has Pittsburgh's playbook still. Yeah, I'm sure he does as well, and that's what I love about it. Like, what? And my favorite thing was before the show we were talking about the Steelers fans are just in uproar. Sorry, you weren't playing him. He went to a team, and yeah, I hope he does give the playbook. Probably should have cut him. I hope he does give the playbook to the Patriots. Didn't use him that well. What if there's a different thing here? What if James Harrison is the ultimate sleeper agent? And he has gone inside the Patriots organization to tear them down from within. Just like not Timothy Mozgov, Anderson Varejao was for the Cavs and the Warriors. That's inside phenomenal. It's phenomenal. All right, so Patriots, Steelers, we'll get back to our actual playoff picture here. Patriots and Steelers at the top right now. Patriots on the verge of clinching that number one overall seed. They do need a win or a Steelers loss, though. So they should get that, right? Well, they're playing the Jets at home. And yeah, I think that's a W for them. And I believe the Steelers are playing the Browns. I would imagine they would win that game, but I've seen crazier things since working in this industry. But I think the New England Patriots are going to lock up the number one seed with home field advantage with a win against the New York Jets. All right, getting down to the bottom of the division leaders here. The Jaguars and the Chiefs. Jacksonville lost this week to the 49ers. An upset game there against the hot Jimmy Garoppolo-led San Francisco 49ers squad. The Chiefs took care of business. They have clinched the AFC West. So your top four teams are set with the Patriots, Steelers, Jags, and Chiefs. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, the Jaguars, I was surprised that they lost this game, but Jimmy Garoppolo right now is just straight roll, and I can't wait to see what he does next year. But the Jags play the Titans. The Titans need to win to have a chance to get in. The Bills and Chargers, though, are nipping at the heels. I think if there's a team who's safe out of all the teams who are yet to lock up a spot, it's the Ravens. The Ravens, I think, continue to play well, and I don't think that they're going to lose to the Cincinnati Bengals, Tom. Well, we'll get in now to those wild card teams. 4 teams still in the mix in the AFC for 2 spots. The Baltimore Ravens, the Tennessee Titans, the Chargers, and the Bills. For Baltimore, it is very simple. If they win, they're in. Also, if Buffalo or Tennessee loses, they are also in. So Baltimore is on the verge of clinching a spot. They are in fantastic shape. It'd be a surprise if they are not in the wild card this year. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, we've been saying it for a few weeks now that I think Baltimore's going to make it in, and it makes it interesting for the Titans, the Chargers, and the Bills. I mean, if you're telling me right now, Tom, out of those 3 teams, I think the Chargers have the best chance because I don't think the Titans are going to beat the Jags. And we'll start here with the Titans up next. They're 8-7, a couple different scenarios, and we'll go deeper into these scenarios on Friday's NFL Daily. The Titans, it's also winning in. They do also play Jacksonville, which is going to be a tough game for them. They also get in if Buffalo and the Chargers lose. Now, that's what they need to have happen because of the way the tiebreakers work out. But Tennessee, if they win, they get in. But do you think that happens against the Jaguars? I don't know. I mean, we saw the Jaguars kind of lay up an egg this past week, giving up 44 points. But I think that was more to do with Jimmy Garoppolo. Yes, Tennessee played the Rams very tough, but I think the Jaguars are going to bounce back in this game, and I think they're going to ultimately win it. Just like I think the Bills are going to go into Miami, and I think they're going to win that game because the Dolphins, they show up sometimes, and there's other games where they look like the worst team in the NFL. But the team who I think is going to win is the Chargers at home against a very, very poor Raiders team that we saw last night on Monday Night Football. You mentioned the Chargers there then. They have a scenario that gets in. What it ultimately matters for the Chargers is they need to get a head-to-head tiebreaker. If it's a 3-team tiebreaker, they'll fall out of it. But if the Titans lose and Buffalo loses, if they get that head-to-head tiebreaker there, if they can face the Bills at 8-7, or both teams at 9-7, they're going to get in. That's crazy, right? I mean, but again, like this AFC picture is, I don't know. I don't know. The only team when I look at them, the only team to me that screams out who's an NFL playoff caliber team right now is the Chargers. And then the Bills there also at 8-7. They can get in with a Bills win and a Ravens loss, or a win and a Chargers loss and a Titans loss, or if they tie, the Chargers lose and the Titans lose. So the Bills, because of the way the tiebreakers work out, they really aren't in great shape. They need to win and get some help along the way. Yeah, they need some help, and unfortunately, like, it doesn't look like it's it's not very likely to happen. Again, this Bills team kind of shot themselves in the foot when they started
what was his name?
Nathan Peterman.
Nathan Peterman against the Chargers in just an abysmal game where he threw 5 interceptions. They're definitely regretting that one, Tom.
That's the AFC playoff picture. Let's get now to some AFC playoff projections here. These are mine, so feel free to yell at me in the comments section if you don't like it. I saw our Steelers fans didn't like that you said DeAndre Hopkins might be the best receiver in the NFL. I still think Antonio Brown's better, so I actually agree with them. So I'll throw you under the bus there, Mitchell.
No, I don't. I'm not saying Antonio Brown isn't. I said you could make the argument that DeAndre Hopkins is.
All right. So here are my AFC playoff projections. Patriots, Steelers, Jaguars, Chiefs. Nothing changes there. And then the Chargers get in over the Bills with that head-to-head. I still believe this. If the Bills had played Tyrod Taylor instead of Nathan Peterman, they would have made it to the playoffs because they would have won that game.
I don't know, Tom. I still think the Chargers dominated that game so much that they would have been able to get in. And that was right when the Chargers started to play the best football of the season. I still think the Chargers win, but I think it would have definitely been much, much different.
All right, so the Ravens are also good in our AFC playoff projections here at 10-6. I think they'll find a way to win this game coming up here. They should do that. But there is some debate amongst who is going to be the last 2 teams in the AFC. So that brings us up to a weigh-in here. Which teams will make the wild card in the AFC? Folks, get your comments in. We can bring some up. Mitchell, you saw mine. Who do you have getting in?
Yeah, I agree with you, Tom. I think the Chargers get in, and I think the Ravens get in. And I think just based on the schedules alone, I don't think the Titans are going to go into Jacksonville and win this game. When the Titans were 8-4, I sat up here and I said the Titans are not going to make the playoffs, and I'm going to stick by that because they are an 8-8 team. They are an average NFL team. They don't deserve to be in the playoffs. And then when you see the Bills going against Miami, I think they win that game, but unfortunately they don't have the tiebreaker against the Chargers. So, Tom, I agree with your Downey's dozen.
All right, folks, keep those comments coming here. I see Raphael says the Bills are going to get in. Charles says the Ravens are going to get in and get that 5 spot in the wild card, which I also agree with. So, folks, keep those comments coming. We will get to some more detailed projections and scenarios on Friday's NFL Daily, or our preview NFL Daily. Have a little bit more of those as well. All right, so, folks, those are your AFC playoff projections. We'll get now to some more highlights. How about the Eagles and the Raiders in what was an ugly game? 4th and 2, and Derek Carr, he just throws this one out of bounds on 4th. Okay, that doesn't really make any sense. Still scoreless when Nick Foles will check it down to Jay Ajayi on the screen. And Ajayi has some blockers, and he will get in the end zone for the score. Eagles go up 7-0. The Raiders, though, would respond. Amari Cooper drops the double move on the corner, and we are tied up at 7. Great route by Cooper. Easy touchdown there as he strolls in for the score. 3rd quarter, Derek Carr is picked off by Patrick Robinson, and this starts a slew of turnovers in what was an ugly game here. Very, very ugly indeed. All right, so Eagles ball now. Jay Ajayi on the carry. He'll get the first down a little bit more, trying to get more yards, and it's ripped out. He fumbles. The Raiders recover, and they take over. Turns out, Mitchell, though, the Raiders don't want the ball anyway because Marshall Lynch gets the carry, and then he fumbles, and the Eagles take over, led to a field goal. After the Raiders miss the field goal, Nick Foles cannot connect with Zach Ertz, and it's picked off by Reggie Nelson. Under 7 to play now. Raiders are driving a gift to Jalen Richard, and he fumbles the football. Malcolm Jenkins ricks it up. A huge play, but the Raiders defense did hold, so it's still 10-10. Under a minute left, and Derek Carr is picked off by Ronald Darby. That leads to Jake Elliott drilling the go-ahead 48-yard field goal. Raiders now in desperation mode, and you know what? Why not have one more turnover? This one taken back the other way for a touchdown. The Raiders turned the ball over 5 times in this game, a game that it almost seemed like neither team wanted to win.
Tom, I was working last night, Sunday Night Football, social, or Monday Night Football social. I almost fell asleep just because of how boring this game was. I mean, both teams I thought came out actually pretty good. They scored pretty quickly, and then it was just absolutely nothing the rest of the way. The Raiders right now, I think, should be in full panic mode with Derek Carr because he did not look good. Even when he was protected, he was not stepping into his throws. I would be worried if I was a Raiders fan.
He had that back injury earlier this year. I think that was an issue. He also has his high school wide receivers coach as the OC. Probably wasn't a great idea for the offensive coordinator. So I'm going to count this as a lost year for the Raiders. But for the Eagles, the question is, can Nick Foles get them to the Super Bowl? Trevor called it the ugliest game ever. I agree with that to an extent. And then Jimmy Beaver said the Eagles don't look so good without Carson Wentz. So I think I know which route he's going to go with. But Mitchell, will the Eagles win a Super Bowl with Nick Foles at quarterback?
Oh, that is a $1 million question, Tom. I mean, Nick Foles right now has led them to wins over, 3rd quarter. He entered the 3rd quarter when Wentz went down with the ACL against the Rams, won that game. won the game against the Giants, and now he won this game. Unfortunately, though, I don't think we're going to see the Raiders or the Giants in the playoffs. I can almost assure you that. I don't think that this team is good enough to make the Super Bowl. I don't know if they're even good enough to win a game in the playoffs with Nick Foles right now. You looked at the wide receivers, Alshon Jeffrey. I don't even know if he had a catch last night. And then Nelson Aguilar, the entire offense out of sync. And I think it's because of Nick Foles. Yes, the game was cold, but Tom, to me, if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm definitely not flying high.
I see mostly angry faces, a handful of hearts, which I think are the Eagles fans in the audience there. So keep those reactions coming, folks. A heart for yes and an angry face for no. Let's move now to our NFC playoff picture here, folks. Again, here's a look at our NFC playoff picture. The Eagles have already clinched the #1 overall seed, so they have nothing to play for this week against the Cowboys, but it might be good to get Nick Foles more reps.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be good to get Nick Foles more reps and against the Dallas Cowboys, who I think are going to come out in this game, and they're still going to play hard. I mean, anytime that there's an inter-division rival game, the teams show up. The Eagles want to knock out the Cowboys, I'm sure. I think it's going to be a good game, and for sure, the Eagles need to get Nick Foles more reps. They need to get this offense more reps. I mean, he's really only played, what, 2.5 games?
Vikings there at 12-3. They are the #2 seed. As things stand right now, they actually haven't technically clinched it because if the Panthers win and the Saints win and something happens with the Rams, the Panthers are actually still alive to get the #2 overall seed, which is crazy in NFC. But I like where Minnesota sits right now as the #2 seed. I think they'd get that this week as well. The Rams have already clinched the NFC West at 11-4. And then there's the Saints as well, Mitchell, still fighting to secure the NFC South.
Still trying to secure it, but I think they're going to end up getting it against the Buccaneers. Sure, the Buccaneers played the Carolina Panthers pretty tough this week on the road, but I think the Saints go into Tampa Bay. They're going to take care of business. They're going to end up winning the NFC South on the shoulders of what has been an amazing season for Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara. It's going to be interesting to watch the Saints march in the playoffs.
Getting out with Carolina here at 11-4, technically still alive for the #2 seed in the NFC. We'll give you those scenarios later on Friday, but here they are briefly right now. Carolina gets the first-round bye. If they win, the Saints lose, the Vikings lose, and the Rams lose. So they're still alive, technically, the best kind of alive.
I wrote an article today at chatsports.com, so you guys should definitely check it out. But, yeah, I was baffled to find out that the Carolina Panthers can still get the #2 seed. Unbelievable. It just shows how great the NFC is compared to the AFC.
So as things stand right now in the NFC playoff picture, 5 teams have secured a playoff spot, although the seeding outside of the top seed still yet to be determined. Where things get chaotic, though, is at the potential #6 seed, with the Atlanta Falcons at 9-6 and the Seattle Seahawks at 9-6 as well. Atlanta has the easier path. If they win, they are in. If Seattle loses, they are in. If both teams tie, they are in. But if Seattle wins and Atlanta loses, the Seahawks get in. Mitchell, with the Falcons sitting on the Panthers this week, what do you expect from them?
So it's a tough matchup, there's no doubt. And we saw it a few weeks ago, but I mean, the Atlanta Falcons are at least home against the Carolina Panthers, which I think is a huge, huge benefit to them. But I think we can also agree that the Seattle Seahawks play the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to be without a few key defensive players, which could allow the Seahawks to win this game. I do expect the Seahawks to beat the Cardinals. I don't know if I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to beat a Carolina Panthers team who, yes, they struggled against the Buccaneers, but I think the kind of football the Panthers play matches up very well with the Falcons.
All right, let's get into the NFC projections here. Again, these are mine, so yell at me in the comments if you disagree here. Nothing changes on the left side, all right? Eagles, Vikings, Rams, Saints. That's pretty straightforward. I, though, Mitchell, have the Falcons at home beating Carolina. Seattle wins against Arizona as well because of the tiebreaker. Atlanta gets in. You disagree with me?
I disagree just simply because I haven't seen this Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan right now is on the ultimate MVP/Super Bowl hangover. Like, the guy needs to find something to cure that hangover. He has 18 touchdowns compared to 38 last season. I believe it's his career low. Like, I don't know if he's ever had this few amount of touchdowns. The offense isn't churning along. Sure, Julio Jones once in a while plays well when Matt Ryan decides to give him the ball, but he only has 3 touchdowns this year. Tom, I think the Carolina Panthers know that they have a chance, at least a chance, to get that 2 seed. They're going to come out. They're going to keep pounding. I think they're going to take care of business against the Falcons, and I think the Falcons are a better team than the Seahawks, but I think the Seahawks are going to get in.
We'll talk more about this on Friday. I have maybe the curious line of the week for you already. The Falcons are favored by 4.
Really?
Yeah, curious line of the week. Give me Atlanta. I think with their backs against the wall, they find a way to win this game there. I will say this because I saw this comment from Eric Simmons about if Seattle can make a run. I think whatever team gets that 6th seed can make a run. But I also know that with what I've seen from Seattle the past 3 weeks, it has been bad. Like I don't know what's going on with the Seahawks. Maybe it's because they're banged up or whatever. Their offense has not looked good.
It's been abysmal. And I mean, considering how great Russell Wilson has been this season, I mean, for majority of the year, you could argue, you could still make the argument that he's the MVP candidate, but we watched the game against Dallas here in the studio. We watched them play the Rams. He calls hike, and he already has an entire defensive line down his throat. Teams don't need to even blitz against them right now. They're putting 8 back in the coverage, 4 coming at Russell Wilson, and he's running for his life. Wide receivers aren't getting open. It's the Seattle Seahawks right now on offense are, I would argue, the worst offensive team that might get into the playoffs.
One more quick thought here, then we'll move on, is that I think the difference between the 1st seed right now in the Eagles and the 7 seed in Seattle, especially with no Carson Wentz, it is very, very thin. And I think you could see a lot of upsets in the NFC.
Yeah, I think if there's a Vikings fan out there, he's just rubbing his hands together, just can't wait because they're just sitting pretty.
All right, folks, those are your NFC playoff projections. Get now to a quick reaction because I've already seen some comments come in as well about this. Which NFC team gets the last spot in the playoffs? Falcons or the Seahawks? Who you got, Mitchell?
I'm throwing up the thumbs up, Tom. I think the Seahawks are going to end up getting. I think they're going to take care of business against the Cardinals. They match up well. Bethea for the Cardinals is going to be out for this game. He's got a pectoral injury. I think that helps out guys like Doug Baldwin, Paul Richardson. So Seahawks, they're going to win the game. Falcons, I don't believe are.
I see lots of likes and quite a few hearts as well. I think this is a little bit closer to a 50-50 split here, which I think makes for fun drama on the final day of the NFL season. Again, folks, quick reminder, only 1 p.m. and 4:30 games this week.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be working 24 hours straight on Sunday, Tom.
Not how it works.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works. 7 games at 1, 9 games at 4:25.
We'll be chaotic here. Once again, folks, like the page, NFL by Chat Sports. You'll be notified when we go live with highlights as soon as those afternoon games end. Want to remind you that today's show is brought to you by the Game Time app. If you need last-minute sports or concert tickets, you got to get the Game Time app at chatsports.com/tickets. They track their ticket prices in real time from thousands of trusted sellers, meaning you'll get the best deal out there. You can save up to 60% off compared to the other ticketing sellers out there, Mitchell.
They do track up to real time. Before I came on the show, Tom, I looked at tickets for the Dallas Mavericks. The game was $22. I'm gonna lie. I'm gonna say this. I went on while you were doing your read. They are now $20. So $2 dropped just in the last 20 minutes doing the show. Nice. But $20 to go watch NBA basketball, and I guarantee they're going to drop more. Go to Game Time.
That's the pro tip. Wait till like the last second, like 5 minutes before the game. The tickets plummet in price. That's how you save the most money there. That will do it for us today. If you guys missed anything, don't worry. We'll play the highlights that we showed you. We'll talk about Jason Garrett again here, and the NFC and AFC playoff picture and projections here, because we'll loop our show in just a minute. But for producer Lena and Mitchell Renz, I'm Tom Downey. You guys stay classy out there.